Erling Haaland. You know the name, you've seen the goals. There's the Marbella villas, the rare supercars, brand deals with some of the biggest companies in the world, and the kind of lifestyle you'd expect from a global superstar. But behind every decision Erling Haaland makes is a strategy, a plan, and a system. Because nothing around Erling Haaland is random. From the clubs he chose, to the timing of his moves, to how he structures his income and gets into brand deals. Everything is carefully planned. And it's all thanks to this team, Team Haaland. A small elite group that has built a machine designed to turn a decade of footballing dominance into a lifetime of generational wealth. So today, I'm breaking down Team Haaland and the entire Haaland system. This isn't just about a football career being managed, it's an operation built around 4 very clear pillars. Let's get into it. I'm Kevin. With 15 years in finance and compliance, I'm here to break down the economics of football and how money, rules, and power really run the game. The motto is minimum noise, maximum security. The first pillar, football. The right clubs, the right timing, and the right environment. Pillar number 2, commercial. How Haaland's popularity, image rights, and brand deals are managed and scaled globally. Pillar number 3, capital management. How the money from football and endorsements is structured, protected, and reinvested. Pillar number 4, the brand. EH9. The long-term identity that exists beyond football. Media, content, visibility, everything you're about to see in this video fits into one of these 4 pillars. So who are the people behind Team Haaland? Of course, there's Alfie Haaland, his dad, former professional footballer and involved in every major decision, making sure that whatever happens still fits who Erling is and what he wants long-term. But at the center sits Egil Østenstad, former Premier League striker, and like father and son Haaland, a former Man City player. Now, the financial architect of Team Haaland. He chairs the companies, follows the numbers, and makes sure that the structure does what it's supposed to do. And completing that core trio is Rafaela Pimenta. She's the super agent who took over after Mino Raiola and now plays a central role in Haaland's career. Not just negotiating contracts, but shaping the strategy around football, commercial decisions, and long-term positioning. Haaland's football career till now reads like a case study. Between the ages of 16 and 22, he played for 5 clubs, and each move was a step on a path to maximize his growth. First, Bryne, his local club. Early first-team exposure, playing against grown men before even turning 16. Then, Molde under Ole Gunnar Solskjær. Champions of Norway. Better facilities, better coaching, and a platform to explode. And suddenly, Europe was watching. And had Solskjær gone his way, Haaland's story might have been different.
Yeah, I had him in Molde for about 18 months. Yeah, 2 seasons, more or less. And the summer before I got here, I rang the club, said, you've got to sign this boy. He'll be top, absolutely top class.
After Molde in Norway though, Austria was next. Red Bull Salzburg. Not a huge club, but a perfect factory for a young talent like Haaland. There was guaranteed playing time, Champions League exposure, and a system tailored for tall, high-intensity strikers. And the next important step, Borussia Dortmund. A global brand, a club built on developing young stars and selling them at peak value. And a club competing both in the Champions League and at the top of the German Bundesliga. Then the big stage, Manchester City, a footballing machine who needed the final piece to win the Champions League, with Haaland firmly in the center. So compare that to players who jumped too early. Rasmus Højlund to United after only 25 matches in Italy. Martin Ødegaard going from Norway straight to Real Madrid at 16. And a number of Brazilians, including Endrick at Real Madrid right now, all struggled to adapt to the biggest stage at a young age. And while some came good later, others fell away. Haaland's path though was structured, patient, deliberate, and designed to give him the right development in the right environment, without too much pressure too soon. Now let's see how Haaland earns his money. So Haaland's contract with Man City is not a typical football contract. It's a financial model, a long-term, predictable cash flow instrument parked inside a corporate structure. He earns about 27 million pounds or just over 35 million US dollars a year from Manchester City alone. That's guaranteed salary. And then there's performance bonuses and commercial triggers as well. And the contract runs into 2034, meaning around 320 million US dollars in earnings until the contract runs out. And that's just for playing football. And crucially, he retains 100% of his image rights. So every time there's an ad, a marketing campaign, or a big brand deal with Haaland, Haaland gets paid all of the money, 100%. And that alone sets him apart because most players split image rights with their clubs. Reasoning being that the bigger club you play for, the bigger star you are. And as such, the club are entitled to a piece of that marketing cash. Haaland, though, doesn't give up a single percent. And that isn't just about money, it's about owning the brand of Erling Haaland, the way a founder owns their company. Haaland's top-line brand deals are what you'd expect from a global star. Nike on his feet, Beats by Dre on his ears, Samsung on the screens, Dolce & Gabbana on the fashion side, and just Breitling on the wrist. And even the Norwegian Seafood Council using him as the face of healthy Norwegian protein. Those alone will make most players set for life. But here's where Haaland separates himself. He doesn't just collect fees, he buys into businesses. He's reinvesting what he earns from football and brand deals into ownership and equity. He's a shareholder in DB Journey, a Scandinavian travel gear brand that's basically built for his lifestyle. They're not a small, tiny startup either. And then Haaland and billionaire heir Gustav Witzke joined as strategic partners to supercharge DB's international expansion. On paper, that makes perfect sense. Haaland lives in airports. He's constantly traveling. Every off-pitch photo is with DB bags. It's not just a lifestyle moment, it's free brand building. So if DB becomes the go-to travel brand for young fans, content creators, or football players, Haaland doesn't just get paid, he's the owner. He participates in the value creation of the whole company. Then there's Bonbet, the Norwegian accessories company behind the Knekki hair ties. Haaland has been using Knekki for years to tie back his hair for both City and Norway. He literally called it the best hair tie in the world when he came in as an investor. From a strategic point of view, this is brilliant. Every time he steps onto the pitch, millions of people see his long hair and his side back in a Knekki. And now he owns part of the company that sells it. Now let's talk structure, because Team Haaland isn't improvising. They built a system. It's what's typically called a family office, except Team Haaland is different. A family office is something you usually see with old money dynasties. Haaland, though, is not preserving an old fortune, he's building a new one in real time. A team that manages everything: investments, taxes, contracts, legal work, and long-term planning. There's a tight inner circle, specialist advisor brought in when needed, and clear long-term goals. Haaland's financials are structured like this. At the top, you have Pillage 1 and Pillage 2 in Luxembourg. Under that, you have Pillage 3 in Norway. That's the investment engine where the money actually gets deployed. Luxembourg is incredibly common for international holdings because it offers stability, flexibility, and efficient ways to manage investments. Latest filings show that while there's 254 million NOK in assets and a 24 million NOK profit last year, there's 0 employees, 0 operational friction, and it's a pure compounding investments engine. And this is exactly how high-performing family offices operate. There's a small footprints, high efficiency, and maximum compounding. Haaland's portfolio is surprisingly grown up for someone in his mid-20s. So you have DB Journey, which is a high-margin travel gear business for global aspirational audience. And then you have Bonbet, which is small, high-margin, and that can scale worldwide. That's the difference between getting paid once and getting paid again and again. Cash is income, equity is wealth, and Haaland is stacking both. It's not any meme stocks or random crypto, but it's a mix of solid businesses, long-term trends, and a few high-risk growth bets. He co-owns a Luxembourg company that holds around 4 million euros in cars. At first glance, that sounds like toys. But these are top-end luxury cars, which can actually function as a combination of a passion asset and a financial asset. There's limited supply, global demand, and in some cases, values that hold up better than people think. Haaland owns that company together with Norwegian Ertfog family, which in addition to luxury cars, also own a commercial real estate company together in the Norwegian town of Stavanger. That gives him direct exposure to property and rental income. It's boring, but it's very effective over time. On the listed side, he holds positions in companies like Höegh Autoliners, Maritime and Merchant Bank, Akastor, Entra, Untitled Therapeutics, and several Norwegian equity funds. So Höegh Autoliners moves cars and heavy vehicles around the world. It's a play in the global trade and car demand, and it's a sector where long contracts and limited capacity can create very strong profits. Maritime and Merchant Bank is a niche bank that lends to shipping. Higher risk than normal retail banks, but if you already understand shipping through Höegh, it makes sense to lean into that ecosystem. Entra is a major Norwegian property company. It gives him real estate exposure without having to manage buildings directly. Then you have Untitled Therapeutics, which is a biotech and immunotherapy company, which is much higher risk, but if it works, the upside is huge. That's the classic barbell. Some stable cash flow companies, some growth and innovation. And on top of that, he uses funds. So several high-quality Norwegian equity funds ran by professionals. That spreads the risk even further and lets him outsource stock picking on part of the portfolio. Haaland has access to private deals through so-called friends funds. He's sitting on the same deals as some of Norway's biggest investors. So when you look at the portfolio as a whole, it's not a footballer randomly buys stocks. It's a coordinated mix of real estate, banks, biotech, funds, and passion assets. Advised by people who usually work for old money and big families. Now that you understand how smart this is, you have to look at the playbook, which is written by the generation before him. So Cristiano Ronaldo and David Beckham basically show the world what happens when a footballer treats himself like a global consumer brand. Ronaldo turned CR7 into a full empire. Hotels, supplements, early tech, and global brand deals and strategic career choices after leaving Real Madrid. His estimated net worth is around $1.4 billion. Beckham did it differently. He leveraged global fame to go all in on the US by signing for LA Galaxy back in 2007. He then flipped a $25 million expansion option into a stake in Inter Miami. That club is now valued at $1.2 billion, and Beckham himself sits on an estimated $450 million fortune. It's obvious Haaland has studied these megastars. We even see it on YouTube. Cristiano launched his personal channel in 2024 and hit 1 million subscribers in 1 hour. Beckham is a recurring presence in the series This is Salford on YouTube. And obviously, Haaland also launched his own channel out of nowhere in late 2025. But he's not copying their playbook, he's perfecting it. He's taken Ronaldo's global brand thinking and Beckham's franchise long game, and then he started building his own version in his early 20s, not at 30 or 35. Every contract, every brand decision, and every investment is the same playbook, just executed a decade earlier. Alright, so that's where Team Haaland is today. But the really scary part is what comes next. So Norway have now qualified for their first World Cup since 1998. And the 2026 World Cup isn't just anywhere. It's in the United States. And from a business perspective, that changes everything. It's almost guaranteed that Haaland will be a central figure in the marketing campaign leading up to the tournament. There's 1 month of global attention, primetime US TV slots, and every major brand watching. Team Haaland doesn't just chase hype, they place him where football, business, and timing all meet. And the World Cup in the US is exactly that kind of moment. If you want a comparison, look at Lionel Messi. His MLS package with salary, Apple TV revenue share, his money from Adidas, and commercial deals has been estimated around $60 million a year. And in 2024, he earned about $79 million in advertising alone. His arrival doubled Inter Miami's valuation to roughly $1.2 billion and boosted MLS viewership and sponsorship to record levels. Now imagine Haaland walking into a World Cup in the US, already global, already commercially structured, and leading a Norway team that looks good enough to make real noise. US facing brand deals for a player like that don't just increase earnings, they multiply them. And if you look at how calculated his decisions have been, it's not crazy to imagine the final chapter being a few years in MLS. Not as a retirement tour, but as the final move in the big plan, a way to cash in on the US market. When you zoom all the way out, the structure is beautifully simple. There's football income in his personal football company, brand income in his commercial company, and then into Pillage 3AS in Norway, where he then invests in stocks, funds, private equity, real estate, brand equity. There's 4 layers, but one goal: to turn a volatile 10-year football window into a stable 50-year financial runway. It protects him from injury, it smooths volatility, it maximizes compounding, it sets up generational wealth, and it's not just a footballer managing his money, but it's a complete wealth-building system. So the next time you see Haaland score a hat-trick, remember, the real goals are being scored off the pitch. Strategic career decisions, calculated commercial strategy, a world-class advisory circle, a professional investment structure, and a long-term plan executed with absolute discipline. That's how you turn a superstar into a dynasty. So what do you think about his US potential? Let me know in the comments. I'm Kevin. Thanks.